Swing needles are double-pointed knitting needles with a movable end or stopper on each needle. These needles were originally created with Riverjohn Needle Company and the Fleece Artist working together to find a way to display the beautiful colors in their hand-dyed yarns. The swing needle technique is done using 2 balls at a time, knitting alternately from each ball so that the yarn colors are distributed evenly without pooling of colors. The 2 balls may be the same yarn divided into 2 balls, or they may be 2 very different yarns or different colors, depending on the look you want to create. Unique horizontal rib, garter, or stockinette patterns are created easily with these needles. The easiest way to get started is to use 2 different colors and knit every row. This will create a horizontal rib. So I'll use the smaller needles, and I'm going to use pink and green. I've cast on 15 stitches with pale green. The first thing we're going to do is knit back with the color we cast on with. Now we started knitting this row up here, so we want to introduce our new color at the same spot, and we're going to knit back. So we have to remove the stopper, put it on the other end, move your stitches up, and start knitting with your new color. We're knitting every row, so knit back with pink. Now we have both colors at the same end. So we're going to turn our work, and you're going to pick up your light green, which is the first color you worked with, and knit back. Now you have your one color at one end, one color at the other end. We want to knit with this one back in the same direction as we just finished, so take your stopper and place it on the other end. Move your stitches up and knit back with your pink. And now both our colors are at the same end again. Basically what you're doing is you're knitting 2 rows in the same direction, then you'll turn your work and knit 2 rows in the same direction again. Just continue doing this, 2 rows, one with green, one with pink, and then turn your work. Move this, Put it here. Don't turn your work. Move your stitches up and knit back. And you will end up with a horizontal rib. I should mention that after casting on, you can start with your new color up here instead of knitting back with the green. You remember in this one, we cast it on and then I knit back with green. And this is the look you get. The pink, I call it, is framed. You see you've got your pink here and green on either side in each row. So to me that looks like the pink has been framed by the green. But if you take your new color and knit your first row with it, there is a difference. You will get a difference in the look. And I'll show you what I mean. Now we have a color at each end here. So what we have to do is move our stopper down here and knit back with the green. You'll remember that on this one here, we knit back with green and then we introduced the pink. This time we introduced the pink as the first row. So it was the first one to be knit. Now the green will be the second one to be knit. So now we have both our yarns at the same end. So here is where we turn. Now last time, for this one, the first one that we knit with would have been the green. This time, because we've just finished with green, the first one was going to be the pink. You're going to understand what I'm talking about, hopefully, when I get a little more of this done. So now I'm going to move my stopper and I'm going to knit with the green. Pesky little ends. So now with both of them at the same end, I'm going to turn, and you'll see here the first one that I'm going to knit back with is the pink. I've just finished with green. And now I'm going to go back and get my green. Now, if you can't remember, go back and have a look. But on this one here, when we had both colors at the same end, we turned our work and we picked up the green because we had just finished with the pink. So let me get a little bit of this done, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what the difference is between that and this. So now that I've finished this little bit, I want to show you. You can see here that the way we did this by starting the first with the pink and then green, it's framed the green with the pink. It's the opposite. So the thing to remember is when both your yarns are at the same end, whichever yarn you pick up first to knit back, that is the color that is going to frame the other color. You see the difference? Okay. Okay, so this time we'll use yellow and we're going to do the garter stitch. Now, unlike normal knitting needles, when you do garter stitch and you just knit, knit, knit every row, you need to do it a little differently with your swing needles. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to cast on with yellow. Okay, you can. So I've cast on my stitches and I'm going to knit back. And now I want to purl a row, but I want to purl it in the same direction. So I'm going to move my stopper to this end, pick up my green, and purl back. Okay, so now we have both our yarns at the same end. I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to purl back with yellow. And again, I'm going to start up here with my green. I'm going to move my stopper to the other end and knit back. Now I have both my yarns, both colors, at the same end. My tails are in the way here, but you get what I mean. So now I turn my work and go back to row 1. Row 1 is knit. Row 2 is purl. Both at the same end. So turn, row 3, purl. Move the stopper to the other end. Row 4 is knit. Keep repeating these 4 rows. And this is your garter stitch. Another stitch that's used a lot in knitting is the stockinette stitch. With the swing needle technique and 2 colors, you'll get a lovely narrow stripe throughout. This is because you're working only 1 row at a time with each color. Let me show you how. So now I've cast on my stitches with purple, and I'm going to knit my row 1. Now I don't want to turn my work. I'm going to move the stopper down here, and I'm going to pick up mauve, and I'm going to knit again. So now I have both my colors at the same end. I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to purl back with purple. So row 1 is knit, row 2 is knit, row 3 is purl, and row 4 will be purl. Pesky little tails. Now I don't want to turn my work because I want to knit purl back with mauve. And again, we have both our colors at the same end. So now we turn our work. And you're just going to keep repeating these 4 rows. You can sort of see your little tiny stripe. I'll continue on with this, and I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. So now you can see, like stockinette curls, we know that, but you can see the very thin stripes, 1 row stripes. I like them, they look rather dainty. And that's what you get with your swing needles. You can use 2 completely different yarns for a very interesting effect. This scarf was created using curly locks and Wool Slub, both by Fleece Artist in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Okay, so I've cast on with Curly Locks and I've knit my first row. So now I'm going to remove the stopper, put it on the other end, move my stitches up, and pick up my other yarn and work back with it. Okay, so I have knit back with the heavier yarn. I now have both yarns at the same end. I'm going to turn my work and I'll work back with the finer yarn. So now I've come back with the finer yarn. I have my 2 yarns, one at each end. Now I'm going to move my stopper to this end and work back with this yarn. And you're going to work exactly the same as we did with our little swatches. 2 one way, turn, and 2 the other. And if you choose a pattern, whatever pattern you want, 2 different yarns, I like these, and you're going to end up with this. This infinity scarf was created using 1 skein of hand-dyed Blueface Leicester DK by Fleece Artist in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. I divided the skein in 2 and worked from the 2 balls, just the same as I would if they were different yarns or different colors. You can see how the swing needle technique has spread the gorgeous colors in this wool perfectly throughout the scarf. The lovely texture is created very simply by working the same stitch combination on each row. I'll give you that pattern here. So this is the pattern for the infinity scarf. I've divided the ball in half, like I said, so I'm going to be using the same yarn, but it's coming from 2 different balls. I've cast on 20 stitches from, we'll call it ball 1. Now this is the pattern. Knit 4. Purl 2. Knit 3. Purl 2. Knit 3. Purl 2. And knit 4. So now I'm going to move my stopper, put it on the other end, and I'm going to pick up the same yarn, but this is coming from ball 2. And this row is exactly the same. Knit 4, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2, and then knit 4. And remember, when both yarns are at the same end, this is when you turn your work. Now, doing it this way with the same yarn, it's not as easy to see which yarn you finished with because they're both the same. But being a knitter, you're going to know. This, you can see, was the last I used. So I'm going to move that back and pick up ball 1 again. And I'm going to work the same pattern. Each row is exactly the same. The only difference is the yarn you're using. Repeat these 2 rows, which actually are the same. You're just using 2 different balls, and you can make your scarf as long as you like. So there you have it. With your new swing needles, you will give your knitting a whole new look. There are no rules. Be as creative as you like. Experiment with different colors, different yarns, and different stitch patterns. Have fun. And remember, if you like what you've created, then it turned out perfectly.